Hello everybody, welcome to the Generic Happy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Amar, otherwise known as Generic Happy, and today I am making this video to talk about Nintendo's May 2024 investors meeting, mainly because Nintendo did make two very important announcements related to their future, being that they have announced that they are working on the successor to the Nintendo Switch, and that they have confirmed that they will be holding a Nintendo Direct in June related to Nintendo Switch software, which is both very important topics related to Nintendo. And since this is a Nintendo YouTube channel, I figured, this would be the perfect time to talk about those things. If you do enjoy this video, please feel free to leave your own comments in the comment section, talking about any of your thoughts on any of the topics I talk about in this video. And yeah, let us get right into it. So I'm not really gonna split this video into two different parts just to talk about these two topics, mainly just because I feel like they're connected in some ways, and I'm not like necessarily gonna put all of my where my mind space is related to this, because I'm probably gonna make a couple of videos related to these topics just because it's a very wide topic to talk about, and especially with the Nintendo Direct. I'm gonna do a reaction to it. I'm gonna have predictions for it. Those things, obviously I can't do the reaction right now, but when it comes to the predictions, I'm not going to talk about all of those, just because I haven't really even thought about what I would predict for that Nintendo Direct. But as I mentioned in the intro, these are two very important announcements that Nintendo made related to their future. And it's made me want to talk about an investors meeting, because normally I don't really cover what they talk about in the investors meetings, mainly because it's not really something, for Nintendo fans all over the world. There's interesting stuff in them, but it's really hard to compile everything into one and then just talk, because a lot of it's just numbers, sale numbers, and sometimes they make announcements within them, but it's very far in between when those happen. But they made two very important announcements in this one, and I think that's mainly because this is the first one related to the financial year of the current financial year of 2025, or physical year of 2025. So they put out their forecasts, and since they will be announcing, according to them, the successor to the Nintendo Switch within this time period, mainly which ends in March of 2025. So the March 31st, 2025. They probably needed to, or felt obligated to announce that they are working on the successor to the Nintendo Switch. And I guess that's where I should probably start related to these two topics. We have the official announcement that they're working on the Nintendo Switch successor. What they said was that this is an announcement for an announcement related to the successor. So we don't know the name of it. We don't know a code name. We don't have a general idea about when it's going to come out, though. I think probably the latest is holiday 2025 if their plans are to announce it. They're stating that their plans are to announce it by March 31st, 2025. So, we're about 10 months at the very least away from the announcement, and we're about a year and a half away from the release at the latest on both of those things. But I mean, it's the officials, and they've acknowledged it. They've acknowledged that they are working on the successor, which is something they haven't ever done before. They've usually said that they're always doing research and development related to hardware and everything that goes on with software and all of that technologies. But now they've confirmed it. We will have a successor by probably the end of 2025, which is really exciting. I guess I can give you all my general idea about how I think the announcement flow will go to release, because besides what I've just said, that's all we really know officially from Nintendo. It will be the successor to the Nintendo Switch. We don't really know the form factor, but there has been comments recently that have been coming out from the investors meeting that stated that it's going to be somewhat similar to Nintendo Switch. I don't have the exact quote, but it will be like similar, or they're trying to go for like the same idea of the Switch. So a console that's like in a hybrid form factor. It's probably what that means. But besides that, we don't really know much. We'll probably get the announcement soonish. Not soonish, but I'm going to talk about that right now because obviously, that's the whole idea of the speculation now related to what they said. So basically, as I mentioned, they said that they're going to announce the console by March 31st, 2025. I personally do not think they're going to wait that long to announce it because that is 10 months away. I don't think they probably needed to state it either for, the situation with this being like the physical year of 2025, or just to, show their investors that they are working on future hardware. They can confirm it. And so, but I don't think they're going to wait that long. If we look at the Nintendo Switch, announcement to release cycle, they officially announced it in March of 2020, of March of 2015, which isn't really talked about that much. That's not really the reveal that most people point towards when it comes to Nintendo Switch, just because I believe it was done in a smaller investors type of conference in relation to Nintendo working on mobile games, and they just wanted to confirm that they're also still in the hardware space. That's still their top priority. But the announcement that most people point towards is the April 2016 announcement that they made in a similar investors meeting to the one that we just had, where they stated that the Nintendo Switch will be releasing, or not Nintendo Switch, but Nintendo NX will be releasing in March of 2017. We didn't get that specific in this announcement, but that theoretically is what we're really looking at with this one. We have a general idea about when the announcement will occur, and that is probably at somewhere around there is also when we would get the release window for the console. So for me, I think they are going to follow a similar track that they had with the Nintendo Switch, where they have the first look at some point in the September-October months. I think they're going to do it a little bit earlier, and I'll get into that in a quick, in a little bit, but I think it's going to be around there, and then they're going to have their larger presentation in January, or maybe a little bit earlier, depending on, what they do. And then the release is going to be somewhere between like March and May. They don't confirm that the console will be releasing before March 31st, 2025, which is a big debate going on right now. I think that they probably will, but I also need to, I want to consider that they might not. If they do announce it in March of 2025, it's not coming out in the same month. It's probably not going to come out until the holiday of 2025 if that's the case. But the main one that I'm working with right now is that it's going to release somewhere around March to June-ish. So like March, April, May, June. And yeah, so that's the general marketing and release cycle that I think it's going to be on. I think the reason why I'm going a little bit earlier than what happened with Nintendo Switch, because Nintendo Switch was revealed on October 20th, 2016, is because we don't know any titles for this console yet. I saw a joke online that Nintendo didn't confirm that they're working on any games for it, which obviously, they are working on games for it. That was just a funny joke. But we don't know any of the games Nintendo's working on it. We don't know the launch titles. That's something that's very different than we had with the Nintendo Switch. Though it wasn't confirmed until the January presentation, we did, believe, and we had good reason to believe that Breath of the Wild would be releasing with the Nintendo Switch. We don't really have that here at all. We don't have any games that we know is coming out on the console. So I think they're gonna have to do something a little bit more grander with the announcement of the console. I don't think it needs to be a presentation or anything, but I think they do need to both announce the console and a launch title, the big launch title for the console, at the same time, which I believe the most likely game, and this is the one that's being the most like the discussed the most when it comes to what Nintendo will choose as their launch title, being 3D Mario. I do think that they probably do need to announce that with the console in a much larger form than what Super Mario Odyssey ended up getting in the first look, and then it had its first official trailer in the January presentation. I think they need to do an announcement trailer for it with the console, and then they need to do like a somewhat obviously like a larger trailer in the presentation, whatever that ends up being. I think that is the main reason why I believe that it's going to be a little bit earlier this year. I mean, not earlier this year, a little bit earlier in the marketing cycle compared to Nintendo Switch. They could even do it a little bit. They could even do it earlier than September, but I kind of don't think they're gonna do it I don't think they're gonna do it in June. I think July is a little bit close to the Nintendo Direct, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So I think August will be the earliest, and I could definitely see August. They do the announcement, and then they do the trailer for the game. And at that point, they don't even really need to do the trailer for the game, because then they could do the August announcement. They can probably do the trailer in September, and then they can have the presentation at like in November, December, January, somewhere around there. But I think that's my main reason why I think it needs to be a little bit earlier this year. Or, I keep saying this year, but it needs to be a little bit earlier than the Nintendo Switch first look announcement occurring in October, just because I think they need to get what that launch title is out pretty early. And I don't think they can wait until the presentation to fully show it off. I don't think, what I'm trying to say is I don't think they can do what they did with Super Mario Odyssey and show off a little bit of gameplay in the first look trailer and then have a full trailer in January when the console and the game would be releasing in March. And that obviously that does all work upon this console releasing in March. If it's releasing on the holiday, we're on a pretty different schedule at that point. They could do a much larger presentation in the summer of next year, where they not just announce obviously that game, but they announce the console, they announce some of the games probably for 2026. But currently, I think that we're probably working on the schedule that it's going to be releasing, between like March and June. But yeah, so I think that's going to be, and that's probably what we see mainly for this year when it comes to the console. We might obviously get like some of the press tour type of events and everything, but I don't think we're going to get anything like major besides the official announcement of the console and whatever the launch title ends up being. Yeah, so that's what as I was saying, I don't think it needs to be anything more than the launch, like the official reveal of the console and whatever the launch title ends up being this year. Obviously, when we get to like the presentation, then they will reveal like what other games they have for 2025. But I think that's it. I think that's pretty much like what this year end up looking like for the console. And then, I guess I need to also consider that, they may do the presentation a little bit earlier with like the timeline I'm explaining, because they want to like talk about the launch title a little bit more early. I mean, a little bit more this year. So I guess they could do the presentation this year, but I think the announcement will be between August and October, and then I think the presentation will be between November and January, at some point in those months. And then I don't think the console's releasing any earlier than March 2025. So I guess the closer you do the presentation to the console, that's probably for the better. So it probably, Nintendo probably wants to do it in January. So I think if I had to make a prediction, I think they're going to reveal the console in September with a trailer for the launch title 3D Mario. They're going to do some press stuff between September and January. Maybe go on some talk shows like they did with the Switch. Have some, smaller promotional items going around. And then in January, they're going to do the full blowout on the console. Reveal a bunch of the 2025 games, some of the 2026 games, maybe. They didn't do that with this Switch, I don't think. I don't think they did the Nintendo first party 2018 games when they revealed the Switch in January. But so I guess they could, we'll see. But I think we're definitely going to get most, if not all, of the first party games for 2024 or 2025 in that presentation. And then the console will release, between like March and May. And I guess that'll also move the presentation a little bit. Everything is just really, up there, we don't know. All we know is that they will be making the announcement before the end of April 31st. Before the end of March 31st, 2025. Right before April 2025. That is all I really have on that end. I did make a prediction video earlier this year, and that pretty much covers the main ideas that I made in that prediction video related to the console. I made that prediction video with the idea that the console will be releasing this year, with this statement that they will make the announcement at some point before March 31st, 2025. That's probably not going to happen. With a 2024 release, they could reveal it in July and then have it released in November, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think, a lot of those ideas I think is going to follow through. We're going to have the reveal. We're going to have the game reveals. We're going to have obviously third-party reveals. I guess that's something I should probably mention. We're probably going to start seeing third-party reveals, maybe by the end of this month into June. Just because, Nintendo has officially acknowledged that there is a successor to the Nintendo Switch releasing, in the future. So, developers and publishers probably can start announcing their games. Obviously, not with the name of the console or anything, but they could say this game is coming to the next generation of Nintendo hardware or something like that. That I guess that's the other thing. We're probably gonna start seeing more stuff from developers and maybe mainly developers and publishers before we hear anything from Nintendo. The next time we probably could hear about this, the console is probably at the end of June. They have an annual investors general meeting. I think that's usually a Q&A, so I guess the investors could ask Nintendo questions about it. But I don't think we're really going to hear much from Nintendo outside of their small little comments in smaller comments in their investors meetings that don't really allude to much until we officially see the reveal trailer probably towards the end of this year. And yeah, that is all I really have on that topic. The reason why I didn't really want to split this into two different topics is because I do think the Nintendo Direct that they also announced does have, some connection, and it does allude to the fact that we will probably not be seeing the console be announced in June, just because they have made us aware that that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during the Nintendo Direct. They released that within the social media posting that they made about about both of these topics. And yeah, so we probably will not see or hear about the console in June. Yeah, they say no mention at all, so it's not even we won't even see it. They will not talk about it during the presentation. And that's because they are using the Nintendo Direct to focus on the second half of the year for the Nintendo Switch. At this point, we do not know anything really about the second half. Actually, we do not know anything about the second half of the Nintendo Switch for the Nintendo Switch this year. Because the only game that well, we have 2 more games on the release calendar after Endless Ocean released last week, being Paper Mario Thousand Year Door Remake and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD releases in June, at the end of June. So that's the last game that we have on the calendar. So if Nintendo like wants to have a game in July, they probably will announce it before the Direct even happens, because it would be a little too late, I think, to have an announcement for a July game in a June Nintendo Direct. There is a rumor out there about what that game could be, but I'm not really going to discuss that here, because that is in leak territory, because it's pretty much confirmed. But that will probably be the July game, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so the Nintendo Direct, you know, we're pretty much always expecting a June Nintendo Direct of some kind. It seems like from the statement they put out, it's going to be a general Nintendo Direct. And I think that's what most people are probably working with. That it is going to be a general Nintendo Direct, because they will be detailing the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024. But I guess the topic, I mean, the predictions, you know, obviously I can make is, will we see Metroid Prime 4? I don't know. I think we will see like the Metroid games, Metroid Prime 2 and 3. We'll probably see a couple of other remasters, maybe like a Mario Party, stuff like that. This video isn't really like for those types of predictions, but you know, the reason why I think these two topics are connected is because I do think, with them stating that this Nintendo Switch, this Nintendo Direct will focus on the software lineup for the latter half of 2024. I don't think they need to do a September Nintendo Direct, and I think that does mean that this likely will be the final Nintendo Direct solely focused on Nintendo Switch games, especially if they're announcing the console in September. They don't really need to do a Direct at that point. And then I don't think there's gonna be like any super major games announced in this Direct, so they don't need to like have like another Nintendo Direct to, you know, release a trailer for any of those games. And yeah, so I mean, I think this will be the final Nintendo Direct that we see focused on the Nintendo Switch, which is, you know, kind of crazy. You know, our first Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch was technically in January of 2017 with the Fire Emblem Direct, but the first general Direct we had was in April of 2027. I mean, was in April of 2017. So that was over 7 years ago. And by the time this Direct airs, it'll be like 7 years and 2 months. And that's kind of crazy. You know, our first general Nintendo Direct will probably have with the next console, if it does release in March, will either probably be in February or April. I'm saying February because it depends on when they do the presentation. If they do the presentation like this year, they'll probably have a Direct in February to detail those launch games again. You know, maybe announce a couple of the later games, maybe a 2026 game, a single one of them, as well as like Nintendo Switch games. But I don't think we're not gonna. I think we're going to definitely still see Nintendo Switch games be announced in Nintendo Directs, probably until the end of 2025, maybe early 2026. Because I think Nintendo, once Nintendo stops supporting the Nintendo Switch with first-party software, I don't think they're gonna stop supporting like the console as a whole until probably 2027, 2028 with like updates and all that. But they probably will stop supporting the console with like software in 2026. So I think at that point, then, you know, once Nintendo stops supporting the console, even if there's like still third-party developers and publishers releasing games on the console, they probably won't do Nintendo Switch segments in the Directs at that point. Maybe they'll do like partner Directs for the Nintendo Switch at that point. But yeah, you know, that we are reaching the end of Nintendo Switch with the official acknowledgement of the Successor and them stating that they will have a Nintendo Switch Direct, mainly focused Direct for in June for, you know, the latter half of 2024. We're pretty much reaching the end of it, which is, you know, it's been a great 7+ years at this point. So you know, the Nintendo Switch had a bunch of great software. It's probably gonna get a couple more great pieces of software before Nintendo fully sunsets it. But you know, it seems like Nintendo is fully focused now on making sure that the the transition between a Nintendo Switch and whatever the next console ends up being is great, or not great, but like it's smooth. And that probably will entail different things like having the console having backwards compatibility, and maybe having compatibility with the Joy-Cons, and still receiving the Nintendo Switch still receiving some software that you can then play on your next generation console, like the DS, the 3DS. But yeah, it's a very exciting prospect in my opinion. That's why I wanted to do a discussion type video related to it, because it's very exciting. We are possibly less than a year away from having new Nintendo hardware, a new Nintendo generation of hardware in our hands, which is very crazy to think about. We've been obviously speculating about it for a very long time, since 2020, 2021, even 2019. That's when I started really getting started really seeing Nintendo Switch Pro topics, people talking about that. But so technically I guess since 2019, but we are officially we're not getting any Pro Nintendo Switch Pro. We're getting a new generation Nintendo Switch, which it's really crazy to think about. But yeah, I don't really know if I have much more to talk about related to either of these topics. Again, I'll probably have another video like this up in a couple of days, maybe a week after we start getting a little more information related to the Q&A that they have, and any other thoughts that I really have on the topics. But this is my really quick thoughts on it, because this announcement didn't even happen 12 hours since it hasn't happened. It's not even been 12 hours since these announcements happened that I'm recording this video. But yeah, I'm very excited. I hope that comes through in what I'm saying, and what I'm talking about, because it's a very exciting time to be a Nintendo fan, and I'm glad that I have this channel to talk about those things, because this is probably my most prominent hobby, and the one I'm most proud of. So I'm very happy. I'm very excited. A quick story, I guess, is I got up at 3 o'clock last night, or 3 a.m. not 3 o'clock last night, 3 a.m. this morning to see if Nintendo had officially confirmed any existence of next generation hardware, and I did not see it because they did not put it on the investor relation website. But I did see, obviously, that they are projecting, I think about 1.5 million or 2 million less Switches sold this year, or within between March 2024 and March 2025. They're predicting a 17% drop in software sales. I think they're predicting a pretty substantial drop in their profits for the year, which I think from what I'm reading online, that's more it's a topic of they're projecting they're only gonna sell they're only gonna sell less. I'm not saying that properly. They're projecting they're gonna sell 2 million less Switches, and they sold 15 million Switches in the last physical year. So 15 to 13 isn't that much of a drop, but they're predicting a substantial drop in their profits. So the speculation is that will be reflective of a price drop of the Switch. I'm assuming probably the Switch family of systems, all three of them probably do get a price drop of some kind. And I guess that also confirms we're probably not going to see another iteration or type of Switch console release, at least not before March 2025. Besides whatever the next generation console may be, if it is named a Switch, like a Switch Micro or something like that, maybe a Switch XL, which is basically a home console only Switch or something like that. But yeah, I did not see it when I saw it, so I was like, oh, okay. I guess they're not going to confirm it. Maybe it's not coming out before March 31st, 2025. And what they said doesn't necessarily also indicate that. But I went on, social media, and I did see it. I saw that they posted that they are making the announcement of the Successor before March 31st, which is very, very exciting. A bunch of news sources at that point had already picked up on it, so I was seeing a bunch of posts about it. And it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time to be a Nintendo fan. In the post itself, it says it will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March of 2015. We've technically known about the Switch, since March of 2015. So by the time the console releases, we could have, theoretically known about the NX / the Switch for about a decade, which is really crazy. And yeah, back then we're probably gonna get very similar stuff that we saw back then with leaks and rumors. Is this a real leak? Is this a real rumor? Probably gonna start seeing that soon-ish. At some point during the summer, we're probably gonna start seeing that. But yeah, and then we obviously have the June Direct, which is, obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, it was expected that we would see a June Direct this year. We didn't get one in February, so we did get a Direct in February. We got a partner showcase in February. Well, a general Nintendo Direct. If we didn't get one in February, we were gonna get one eventually this year, and June was the next best, or the next likely situation. But with us getting one in June, do we get one in September? Who knows? They're definitely gonna still keep marketing the Nintendo Switch going into the future, so I could definitely still see them do a Nintendo Direct in September or maybe August, just to talk about not necessarily their lineup for 2024, because they've already done that, but to give additional trailers for those games, to announce maybe any third party or partnered software that they have. Depending on what the Pokemon company is doing, maybe we'll see Legends ZA appear in a Nintendo Direct, in June, maybe August or some point, or Pokemon Presents. It depends on how early I guess the game's coming out in 2025. We could see it at the presentation for the next generation console. So, again, that's another game that that is announced for the Switch. It's a 2025 game. It's kind of in the same boat as Metroid Prime 4, it's not in the same boat, because Metroid Prime 4, we don't even know when that's coming out, but it's kind of the same boat where it's not this year yet. Metroid Prime 4 could be this year, but we just don't really have an idea about when those games are necessarily coming out yet. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I will be doing more content related to the Direct. More content related to the Direct in the near future. I'll definitely be doing more content related to the console, over time. Again, like I mentioned, I might have another video come out, within the next week or so, talking about a little more specifically about the Switch, Successor, maybe a little bit more about the Direct. Maybe I have some additional ideas and thoughts related to it, but that'll probably be saved more so for the predictions video. But yeah, I haven't really uploaded much this year. I have a couple of videos not ready, but filmed. I have a couple of unboxings. I'm trying to do an unboxing of every single first party Nintendo release of the year. So I do have videos for Princess Peach Showtime and Endless Ocean Luminous that I do need to upload. And then I have a couple Pokemon card videos. So I just haven't really had the time to upload those yet, or really go into and watch them, make sure they're okay and all that. But yeah, we're in pretty crazy times to be Nintendo fans, and I think this is probably the best time to be a Nintendo fan, because with Nintendo Direct, we don't know what they're going to show off the Nintendo Direct. We don't even know anything for the second half of the year yet, which is very different than normal. Normally we at least know the July game, Normally, we know about something for Pokemon by this point, but we do not. So we are in uncharted territory, as the investor meetings usually reiterated when we came to Nintendo Switch, and talking about how Nintendo Switch is an uncharted territory, as being a 7-year plus or 5-year plus, and half of it in its middle of its lifespan type of console. And yeah, we're in uncharted territory now with the Nintendo Switch in terms of knowing what software we have left for it. But yeah, I'm very excited. It's a very exciting topic to talk about, and yeah, it's something that we think about all the time. We think about when the next Nintendo console is going to release, but we just never know. You never know. And now we have a general idea that probably by holiday 2025 we'll be playing some next generation Nintendo games. Maybe a 3D Mario, maybe a 2D Zelda, maybe some very important, not important, but very like a game from the N64, like Ocarina of Time. Maybe we see a remake of Ocarina of Time or something like that. But yeah, I've kind of rambled on a little bit here at the end, but yeah, I'm very excited. As I mentioned, I'll definitely have more videos out about these two topics and other Nintendo topics throughout the rest of the year. If you do enjoy, these types of videos, I do have a good amount of discussion videos on the channel. I do have my 2024 prediction video, which is fairly outdated now. I did predict we will see a June Nintendo Direct in that video, and we will be getting a June Nintendo Direct. So I have to, I get like 1 or 2 points for that, but most of that video was focused on the console releasing this year, and it's not looking like that will be the case. But yeah, I do have a bunch of these types of videos. I'm trying to do a little bit more gameplay videos. As I mentioned, I'm also doing unboxings for every single first party release, at least in the Americas, and physical releases Nintendo is releasing. And yeah, we'll definitely have more Nintendo content. The whole channel is really based around Nintendo, so I will definitely have more Nintendo content in the future. But that is all I have for you all today. So I hope that you all are doing well and staying safe again. If you have any thoughts, again, please leave them down in the comments below, on any of these topics or anything you really feel about, the future of Nintendo. And I will see you in the next one. So make sure to make you happy, except for I'm Generic Happy, and I'll see you in the next one. Again, goodbye.